Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. Right now at what I think is the Chelsea Hotel in downtown Toronto. Man with me is a pioneer of Canadian hip-hop. He is a member of Swallow Members, now a successful solo artist in his own right. Third solo album came out in July. It's called Silver Tongue Devil. Madchild, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You forgot to mention the fiercest lyricist to ever come out of this country. Nice to see you.
I was getting to that part.
Thank you. I don't like the word pioneer because I'm still relevant.
There we go, man. And but I kind of want to start off a bit with about that though, because like I said, it's your third solo album now.
Correct.
You add in the Swell member stuff. It's your 14th album altogether.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I just wonder, like, you've had a really successful career, a crazy life up to this point. Like, for you at this point in your career, in your life, like, what does making an album do for you? Like, do you get the same challenges and satisfactions that you did when you started, or is it a different kind of thing now for you?
It's way more satisfying now, for various reasons. I shouldn't say way more. It was very satisfying in the beginning. We were a worldwide underground successful hip-hop group. And it's actually funny, we had toured Europe, Japan, and America before we had even toured Canada. So to become this sort of, for people that remember, this anomaly in Canada and ride that 4-year wave of success with multi-platinum albums and 4 Junos and top 10 hits and 7 Much Music Awards. I mean, it was an amazing experience. It all happened at a pretty young age for me, so I probably didn't handle it as well as I would now. Well, I know I didn't, but it was very satisfying in that aspect. That's something that no one can ever take away from me. That happened in my life, you know what I mean, in our lives, and it was an incredible experience. But now, I would have to say it's more rewarding, because my music is like therapy. I've been through trials and tribulations, as a lot of people know. And for those that don't, I went through a 4-year Oxycontin addiction, where I lost $4 million. I lost everything. The good news is I've been drug-free for nearly 4 years and have rebuilt my life, started a solo career 3.5 years ago, and I've had what I think is amazing success in a short period of time. And it's like I get to live a second life and a second career, but I see things differently. Things that I was once romanticized by before, I now think is bullshit. So I live my life much differently, completely different surroundings. My music is my counseling, it's my therapy, but what I didn't realize it would happen is that I would be given this incredible responsibility. What I mean by that is thousands and thousands of people, young people especially, have come up to me and said how my story, or just without me thinking, what I'm writing about in my music has helped them to get off drugs or to get sober. And it's like every night I'm doing meet and greets at the shows, and I do like 150 to 180 shows a year when I'm going hard. And we're both holding back the tears, like they're like, you saved my life. I'm just like, wow, and I'm sure I'm not the only thing that saved their life. They had to go and save their own life. But the point is that to have that responsibility and to feel so blessed and honored, that what happened to me has helped other people get on a better path. That is incredibly, incredibly rewarding. And I do understand what it means, and I don't mean to go on forever, but when I got off drugs, I listened to the first album. When I was strong enough, I went for a drive in my parents' car after being in bed for 11 days. And the first albums I listened to was Willie Nelson and then James Taylor. And James Taylor was a heroin addict, so he's always been one of my favorite artists in a different genre of music. I just love his voice and his music, but then all of his lyrics now all of a sudden hit me a different way. I understood what he was saying now from an addict's point of view. So I do understand how music can help heal, and I just it didn't even cross my mind that that my story and my music would help heal that many people. So you can't compare that that feeling of reward, to even playing in front of 20,000 people, and that you just, it's like a real blessing.
And I was going to get into that, but since you brought it up, like the having gone through that, like the 4-year addiction, reaching that rock bottom, kind of like you did, now having built yourself back up, and congratulations, man, just on the sobriety.
Appreciate it.
And as an artist now, do you see yourself as having returned to the artist you were before all that, or do you see yourself as a whole new person compared to before that happened?
My whole goal was, like, I did some soul searching for the first 6 months. And by the way, I don't want to paint a false picture. I'm not completely sober. I can have a glass of wine with dinner. If I want to have a couple White Russians one night with a girl or something, I can. I'm doing this whole tour. For example, I'm doing 80 shows in a row completely sober just because I choose to. But it's not like I'm going to have a drink and go get an 8-ball and 3 hookers. Like, I'm not going to go on a drug binge just because I have a couple drinks. I was never an actual addict in the way that some people will just get addicted to anything. I have an addictive personality, but I was an opiate addict my whole life without realizing it. So I would have never tried heroin. I'm scared of needles. We know what people look like after they do it for 5-10 years. They look like the zombies, those poor souls. And that would have never happened to me. But the ironic thing is, the exact same thing happened to me by taking something that I thought was innocent in a pill form, that doctors will go on TV and say it is absolutely safe to take Oxycontin. Why? Because there's massive amounts of money in that business. And it's what we were talking about with the vape business versus the tobacco business. When there's money involved and people are getting paid, they will lie right into the camera. And that's what's wrong with our society. One of the many things that's wrong with our society today. I don't even know what your question was again. What was your question? I just like having conversations.
It's kind of just like, as far as now that you've kind of built yourself back up and built your career back up, is the idea you have artistically that you've returned to the artist you were, or do you see yourself as a completely different artist?
Right. So my whole goal was this. Now that I'm at the ripe old age of 27, just kidding. My whole goal was to prove that you can get older and better, and I'm very happy that seems to be the general consensus. I have to live my life like a younger person, but I know for a fact that I keep getting better lyrically, as far as the complexity of my wordplay, songwriting. I just keep getting better. But the reason for that is because I live like I'm still a 25-year-old kid. I have an apartment, nice place, everything's great. I've got my dream truck, I've got my chihuahua, but I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have a mistress. I don't have, I lost everything, so I lost 11 houses, so I don't have a bunch of mortgages. I don't have 40 guys hanging around with their hands out for money. I'm a bit of an introvert now when I'm not on tour. I like to stay home when I'm working on music. I don't do a lot of socializing. My circle of friends is very small and very tight, and they're all artists and actors now because I live in LA. So my whole goal was to prove that I could get better with age, and that's especially in America. All the interviews I do, everybody keeps asking, how is it that I keep getting better, when most artists, as we know, they'll do a few great albums, and then as they get older, their music will get watered down, or their lyrics, we'll talk about hip-hop, their lyrics will be not as sharp, or they'll be watered down, or it'll sound missing some magic. But I put that same amount of work in that I did when I was living with my grandma. You know what I mean? Back when I was living in my grandma's apartment and I had no responsibilities in the world. You know what I mean? So I put that same fierce focus into my music. So that is very rewarding for me.
You're the at the top.
Do I sound like I'm on my own dick a little bit too much? Sorry about that.
No, man.
My apologies. Confidence is king. No, man, I don't mean to sound cocky.
I'm so kind of into what you're saying. I'm like, oh shit, I'm supposed to ask a question next. But no, but you'd said it kind of off the top that, and it seems obvious when you listen to the new album, is that you use your music as a form of therapy,
right.
And you can hear some of the like the issues you've gone through. You're very open about that in your music, like on the lead-off single "Lose My Mind." You're very open about that,
right.
But is that a sense of like, are you writing? What I'm always curious about is, are you writing this stuff out? Is it almost like a diary that's then becoming a song, or are you going into the studio and it's just that's what's pouring out of you, or is it kind of a combination of the two?
I always write an actual song to a beat, but what I do is I gather arsenals. So like when I'm in writing mode, I'll watch a lot of movies, and I'll sort of just snatch words out of the air or sayings out of the air, and I'll just build them up in my either in my iPhone or I have a book where I'll write stuff down, and then I piece things together like a puzzle. But sometimes if I'm doing a song that's a conceptual song, that'll be something that just flows out from within, from start to end, and I never start a song and come back to it and finish it later. I start it and I keep going until it's done. So those are the two ways that I write. I piece words together. I've always been an abstract sort of expressionist with my lyricism, but I also think it's important to have straightforward songs that people can follow a storyline or a concept. So I've been doing more of that lately, and that's just growing and evolving as an artist, and it's fun to write both ways. And then sometimes I'll just sit down and it'll still be abstract, but it'll have a theme to it, and it just happens organically. I don't sit down ahead of time and think about what I'm going to write, if that makes sense. And I always write to the beat so I can record right after I've written it. Otherwise, I forget how I wanted to say it exactly.
Kind of on a similar note, I had watched the video of your rap battle with Daylight. Was huge online. It's like close to 700,000 views or something. It's like it's sweet. If people haven't checked it out, look at it. It's awesome. But I'm always curious. Like I don't admittedly know like a ton about rap battles and that kind of stuff. But when I do watch, I'm always curious how much of that is truly spontaneous and on the spot, and how much of that stuff kind of, if you had planned either formally or informally in your head going into it. Like for you, how does that process work?
All of those battles are pre-written. Yeah. When I was coming up in my first life, a lot of battles were freestyle. Prevail, my partner for Soul and Members, is one of the best freestylers in the world. He's incredible at it. When we do go and still do shows once in a while, since the beginning of Soul and Members, he's always freestyled on stage, and it blows people away. I've always been a writer, so when you're watching those battles, everything is pre-written. I'm sure there are moments with some of the top battlers where they do some improv. Absolutely, if they'll think of, while they're listening to the one guy, they'll think of maybe 4 to 6 lines in their head, but the rest will be written. The difference, and if I hadn't have stumbled a couple of times in that battle, it would have been mine for sure. But Daylight is one of the best battle rappers in the world when he's not trying to take a crap on stage or do something ridiculous. And I was honored that he came with his A game. But the difference is I was doing 28 shows that month. So if I battle again, I'm going to make sure that I'm not on tour, and I allow myself enough time to not only write my and prepare for the battle, but to know it frontwards and backwards. The reason I had stumbled is because I was doing 28 shows that month, walking around at 4 a.m, trying to think of what I'm going to come up with. Even that night at that battle, I had the rental SUV running in the back, so it was warm. I finished the battle, quickly did 2 interviews, went out the back door, jumped in the SUV, drove an hour and a half in a snowstorm, jumped on stage and did my show. So, it's a completely different dynamic. I know that if I actually was given 3 weeks or a month to focus on just a battle, I would tear anyone's face off. So I was still very proud of what I did. I wish I hadn't have stumbled, but it's just simply, you need to give yourself more time, real focused time to prepare for a battle. It's the first the first and second time I also battled Dirtbag Dan right when I got off drugs, that I got butterflies in years, you know, and I wanted to push myself to that test. That's how you stay young. That's how you stay sharp. Not a lot of rappers have stepped up into the battle world yet, because you're putting everything on the line. You really are. You know what I mean? I don't need to battle. Yeah. I do great with touring and selling music, and I'm so lucky in a time where it's hard to sell music that I have such an incredible loyal family and fan base. My fans are my family, that I'm able to sell albums and quite a few albums in this time. I definitely don't need a battle. I'm doing it honestly for the culture of hip-hop, the purity of it, and supporting what Organic and those guys are building. And I think it's so wonderful that Drake paid for that whole battle. Like, that guy is a class act. So I wanted to be a class act too, and be involved and hopefully bring something a bit different and exciting to the table for people that are in the battle scene.
You kind of brought up Drake there, and I only think of that in the sense that, you know, your style of rap is, you know, you have a bit of an old school, still very like aggressive style rap. Where
I'm sorry, can I hear what you said? I missed that.
It says your style of rap.
Something cold. What did you say? Cold. I couldn't hear you. Gold? What did you say? Gold style? Oh, okay, go ahead.
But you're a very aggressive rapper, whereas new guys like Drake and Kendrick Lamar, Chance the Rapper, and that they're bringing in, I don't know, what some people have termed this almost this like more sensitive, insular form of rap, like
emo rap.
Yeah. I've heard it mentioned that, like emo rap. Like, is that something that like? I'm just kind of interested to get your kind of thoughts on that. Is that something that you think is a good trend within hip hop? You say that your own rap is your own form of therapy. This, you know, I guess quote unquote emo rap. Do you think that's a positive trend within hip hop?
I have a song called Slut on my new album. Who am I to judge anything? I mean, my most popular song at my shows is called Dickhead. So, hip hop is a huge tree now, and there's a whole bunch of branches. Drake is simply one of the best rap artists in the world. You know, I know he doesn't write all his own songs. I was a little disappointed about that, but I get it. Like, imagine how busy that guy is. Oh my God. But the point is, he's written a million songs that are his own, and he's incredible. He's just incredible. Kendrick Lamar is a lyricist. Yeah. I am a lyricist. Drake is an amazing songwriter who still cares about his wordplay, which is why I have so much respect for him. Emo rap. I don't think there's anything wrong with pouring out your emotions on the page. I mean, it's obvious that when songs are made for certain reasons, like I know a lot of those guys, it's popular to make songs, at least it was, for strippers. So they would make songs that strippers would like because that was what was popular, or they'll make songs that they know girls will like. I don't do that. But girls love Dickhead and Slut. Like, girls, just kids have a great sense of humor these days. So I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to the way that any art. It's like it's been said before by great artists. It's like a garden, and each artist is a different flower, but it still makes a beautiful garden. And I'm really happy with where hip hop is today, because of people like Drake and Kendrick Lamar and you know, Action Bronson, Yellow Wolf, Danny Brown. I mean, all these guys, Tyler the Creator, like all these guys kill it lyrically. A$AP Rocky, like that guy still kills it lyrically. Like, these guys care about what they're saying. Now, I'm not a huge fan of when all these rappers are getting turned up and rapping like they're in grade 3. It's almost popular to rap as bad as you possibly can. But I have the guilty pleasure of enjoying the music. Yeah. I'm never going to be that old guy that is like, oh, our generation was better. Like, nah, it's never going to be me. I have a guilty pleasure. I love Fetty Wap. I love, you know, all these songs that are popular in the club because it sounds great in the club and it sounds great when you're going for long drives. But I'm not going to say that I respect some of these artists lyrically, because they almost are trying to rap as bad as possible, and every single person raps exactly like Drake. And I don't know if Drake was invented the style, but it's the space and then the and it's a certain beat, and it's like 2 or 3 ways that you can do it, and every fucking person does the exact same fucking thing. They're all a bunch of sheep, but they're making money, so who gives a shit what I think? Yeah. I'm making money doing what I do. They're making money doing what they do. Only difference is I've been doing it a lot longer, and I'm still going to be here. And I'm not talking about Drake, but I'm still going to be here when these guys that are popular for 15 minutes, like Andy Warhol said, everyone's going to have 15 minutes of fame. Now everyone's getting 15 seconds of fame. I'm still here, and I'm still here, and I'm still here. And I think because there's a whole new generation, like for example, I just played in Denver, Colorado, in front of 600, 700, 15-year-old kids. They knew all the words. They care. So hip hop, that part of the music is coming back with the kids again. They really care about fierce, sharp, razor sharp, lyrical complexity. But also knowing where to put words and where not to put words, and placement, and being able to have dynamics and switch it up. But it is almost ridiculous. I was just listening to Shade 45 all day today while driving. It is so ridiculous how everybody is copying one exact style that it's like, I can't believe somebody hasn't just said, wait a minute, like, come on, man, this is absolutely insane. But everybody's just rolling with it because it's business, and it's just like any other trend. It will pass. But I think Drake's the originator of it, which is once again why I have so much respect for him.
For yourself, are you saying?
I did make that clear that I still like that music. Okay.
After all that.
I do.
No, totally. And like, for yourself, you keep emphasizing your role as a lyricist, and even with what you're saying, you're emphasizing the lyrical skills of other guys. But like,
I don't know, maybe lyricist is just like not a great word. It's kind of a corny word though. I'm just super fucking dope. That's all it is. I don't want to use the word lyricist, because that just sounds dated. But I'm just a beast. I'm a monster.
But like in reviews,
that's what I am.
In articles,
I'm a monster.
All right, we'll go with monster.
All right.
But like within reviews, within articles, whatnot, when people are talking about your writing skills. Oh, I can't not use the word lyrics here, but like your lyrical skills do get brought up all the time, and for good reason. But like for that, forming that craft or honing that craft, I'm just wondering how you actually do that. Like, did you consider yourself a well-read kid growing up, or is it from listening to other hip hop artists? Like, was there a conscious way in which you kind of honed that craft?
Yeah, I mean, I come from that era of like when I was a kid, like. I mean, like Biggie killed it, Souls of Mischief killed it, Leaders of the New School. Like, there was a lot of like Saphir, Boxcar Sessions, 1994. Like, I come from it, like Dilated Peoples, like who are still my counterparts and Evidence. One of my best friends today, Alchemist is incredible. Eminem, like, so I come from a time where that was important, and that's how you were judged. So I guess that part just stuck with me. Interesting. I'm not gonna like do what these sheep are doing, because I'd feel like a fucking asshole.
Fair enough. And
I look like one too. I gotta be the people's champ. You know what I mean? I can't. I'm with the people. I'm not trying to be something I'm not.
Yeah. Kind of on that note, but like the one criticism I've seen.
No criticism.
The one that I've read.
I'm not 4'11" on Wikipedia. 5'7". Okay, so there's your critique.
But you'd mentioned the song Slut, and it being part of, it's on the new album, Silver Tongue Devil. And, the only criticism I've seen of it is, and this is something that probably...
A 50-year-old lady who writes for magazine.
But, the idea of, like, misogyny or, violence against women within lyrics and that kind of stuff is something that wasn't talked about 10 years ago. But we saw it here in Toronto with Action Bronson's concert at North by Northeast.
We just talked about Eminem. His whole career was based on.
That's true enough. I shouldn't say that is not talked about, but it seems like people have become more sensitive to the issue in recent years. No, well, I just want to get your reaction to that. Is that something that comes across your mind when you're in the studio at all, or do you just? Essentially, what is your reaction?
Why don't you worry about the fucking truck that I saw drive by me full of fucking animals about to get slaughtered? Why don't you worry about things that are important instead of kids have a sense of humor. If older people that are writing don't, too bad. My apologies. I don't really give a shit what you think. Why don't you worry about how horrible we are as humans? Fucking terrible. I saw a truck full of animals knowing that they're going to get slaughtered, and we all just pretend it doesn't exist, and I'm guilty as charged too, but we all gotta change, man. Everybody talks so terribly to each other on the internet, and kids are committing suicide because people are talking to them on Facebook so terribly, and social media, people just saying whatever they want to say. You wouldn't walk up and say, hey, you're a fucking fat piece of shit, loser. You don't talk to people like that. But it's okay for society to talk like that on the internet because they're behind the keyboard. Why don't we talk about some issues that matter? Slut is a song that's fun, and it's from real experiences. I do 180 shows a year, and there's groupies at every show. Now I have a girlfriend, so I'm chilling. But when I was single, that's just reality. I'm not making it up. I'm just making fun of the situation. And I know from the song Dickhead that girls love the song. So it just shows me that the younger generation has a great sense of humor. We can see it in movies all the time. Or we can read about it in books, or you can watch porn for free when you're 12 years old on your iPhone, but I'm not allowed to make a fucking song about it? Fuck you. How's that for an answer?
It actually just struck me there, when you were talking about, seeing the truck of animals that's about to get slaughtered, and the way kids talk to each other on the internet, and what it drives, driving kids to kill themselves, that kind of thing. I could actually see it there, how much, when you start thinking about it, that touches you. I'm just wondering that, and I've seen you in other interviews recently, you are a sensitive guy, and is that a development of having what you've gone through with the drugs and having brought yourself out of that, or is that something, was that always there and people didn't realize it as much?
I think it was buried deep inside because I used to live on the wrong side of the fence. So when I got off drugs, I changed my lifestyle. And for an alpha male who hung around with very dangerous individuals growing up, because I was never going to be that kid getting put in a locker in school. I was a little guy with the attitude this big. So I went looking for the craziest, toughest guys I could find. I grew up with them. They ended up becoming very notorious people in a different world, and I'm not talking about any specific group of people, so let me make that clear. I just made bad lifestyle choices, and no disrespect to anybody and any individuals, because some of those people have great hearts. They're just misguided like I was. But I got to a point where I was I need to change now, and I need to break down this wall, and I need to let love into my heart. And that is a very difficult very difficult thing for someone like me to do. When I did, everything changed. So yeah, no, I was not sensitive before because I had this wall up. I was Mr. Tough Guy, even though I'm not a tough guy. But I was tough guy. I was who do you think you're talking to? I'm just not like that anymore. I treat people the way that I want to be treated. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I like who's looking back at me in the mirror because I think I exert positive energy. And that's why I love Bob Marley. That's why I love Ben Harper, because they were able to make music sending a message of love, but it sounded cool. You know what I mean? And even though my music is very ferocious, there is still love mixed in with all that. And whether it's conscious or subconscious, people are taking that in. So once again, I don't premeditate anything that I'm doing, but I do know that message is getting out there with what I do, even though I'm fierce with my music, and my music is very sort of aggressive, like you said. But yeah, I'm probably a little, we're all like onions and you peel back layers, so I probably had to peel back a lot of layers to let the sun shine in, if you want to call it that, or but I'm just way happier now, so I'm not embarrassed of any of that shit. I hope that it can happen to more people that have lived and the lifestyle that I've been around in the past. And that's why we have Battle Axe Warriors, is so kids can be a part of something that's completely positive, still feel like they're in something that's badass, because it is. It's a family. Yeah, we got a lot of guys that are not pussies, believe me, but there's a bunch of just sweet kids in it too, and then we all got each other's back, and it's a positive movement. There's no devil behind the curtain. There's no peer pressure. It's just about self-improvement and holding down the culture that we love, underground hip-hop. It's a completely positive thing. So and it's explosive. It's I believe that our movement saves people's lives, and I just started an e-juice line, and I believe that saves people's lives. This works. I smoked for 20 years, and I'm 20% smoking and 80% vaping after 7 weeks. This works. So now I have an e-juice line out, and I'm killing it. But it's all positive things that are saving lives. Now, who's going against that kind of stuff? The government. Who's going against it? The tobacco companies with the money and the taxes from the government. It's such a fucking ridiculous world that we live in. Everything is circled around this concept of money that was invented. Like, it's crazy to me. 6 years ago, there was no casinos in BC. Now they're everywhere. Multi-million-dollar things. You walk in and you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And they know that it ruins people's lives, but they're popping up everywhere because there's tons of money in it for the government. I'm not going against our government. I love you for giving me a second chance at life, and thank you for letting me back into America. But some things are wrong with our society. And it's just like we were talking before. I'm a recovered drug addict. I was addicted to Oxycontin. I've literally seen doctors who are paid, obviously, by multi-billion-dollar companies to look in the camera on the news and say, there is absolutely nothing dangerous with Oxycontin. It's fucking synthetic heroin. How are you going to say, like, look at people and say that? Like, there should be rules. Like, you shouldn't be able to lie just because there's money involved in things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally.
I don't know how we got on that topic. But I got to plug my e-juice, Madchild e-juice.
For the most part, that's a positive. Like, well, maybe not the positive part there at the end, but the government, money and government not screwing people over. But no, I
don't mean anything disrespectful against the government. I just mean the powerhouses, because there's so much money there's so much money involved. It's so transparent. Whatever. I'm not trying to disrespect our government. I'm not disrespecting our government. I'm disrespecting society. I'm disrespecting
and the priorities.
The priorities and the way that things work, because it all revolves around money and power.
But for yourself, man, to leave it there, it sounds like career-wise, personally, it seems like you're in such a good place right now, and you're doing a lot of good for people and with the kids through Battle Axe, man. I'm really happy to see that, and this was a true pleasure, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.